Hi everyone. So it's what day is it today? Friday, and I'm finally back home in Saitama. Yay! So I got back yesterday. We were released from the hotel, the quarantine hotel in Tokyo. So basically, I spent yesterday morning, packing all my stuff. We had the knock on the door around 7 a.m. to get our last PCR test sample collected. And then I basically spent the next like 2 or 3 hours putting all my stuff back in its various bags and suitcases. And then I was having my lunch around 1:30 or 1 o'clock maybe, because I thought that we won't get out of the hotel until 3 or 4, which is the general kind of pattern that I've been observing from this wonderful Facebook group called Return to Japan Support Group. So if you're planning to return to Japan as a resident or on a special visa, this is a really helpful group to join if you can, if you have Facebook. I joined this group about 3 months ago, and it's been such a wonderful resource. And I've had all my questions answered, and I've had tips and ideas. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already joined, you should. And even if you're not traveling, I really like to read some of the comments on this group, because some of the comments are just hilarious. It's if you need to laugh sometimes, reading some of the posts and comments on this group can make your day. So I recommend it. So anyway, so yeah, according to many people from that group, they normally got out of the hotel by around 3 or 4 o'clock on their final hotel quarantine stay. But I don't know why, but yesterday I was eating my lunch around 1, and then I think it was around 2 o'clock maybe. Yeah, around 2 o'clock I got the phone call from basically the front desk saying, "Oh, your bus is leaving in the next 20 minutes." I'm like, "What?" So they said, "Yeah, by the way, your last PCR test was negative, so your bus is leaving in 20 minutes, so bring down all your stuff, bring your thermometer and your key card, and throw out your trash, and basically, come down." And I'm like, "Okay." So in Japan, when Japanese people say something to you and you're like, "What is going on now?" You just say, "Hi, wakarimashita." Hi. And you just get on with it. So you might be, having shock things going on inside, but externally you're like, "I see. Thank you. Goodbye." So that was my response. And then I, like a maniac, I threw the rest of my stuff, into my bag. I had to like throw away my miso soup because I hadn't finished it. And then I basically started taking my luggage out of my room, because I had asked the front desk guy, "Oh, should I bring down the luggage by myself?" Because as an African, I don't travel light, so I had like 50 bags, and one of them was overweight from Boston already. Um, so then I thought, okay, I guess I've rested for 6 days, so I'm sure I have some muscle power to bring down all this stuff. And I was just literally walking out of my, the room door, and then this guy just appears, and he was like, "Do you need help with your luggage?" I'm like, "Hi, onegaishimasu." So then he helped me. He took me to the elevator, and then put me and my luggage inside the elevator. I thought he was going to come down with us, but he was like, "No, basically sayonara, there'll be somebody else to meet you when you arrive at the lobby," which is exactly what happened. So when I got to the lobby, there was another very nice guy who helped me with my luggage. I returned my thermometer and my key card, and they basically just said, "Oh, thank you, bye." And that was the end of the hotel quarantine experience, very unceremoniously. So then I got on the bus, and I think there was probably around I would say maybe about 10 people on the bus. It wasn't very crowded. I mean, compared to like going to the hotel on the 14th. So basically, we drove back to Narita Airport, Terminal 2, where I had, landed 6 days earlier. And it was like so weird. I'm like, I just came from here like 6 days ago, and then here I am again. So it's kind of like, kind of like a weird movie. Like it's like you're in a weird movie. So anyway, we got to Narita Airport, and basically the bus dropped us off at this bus stop. And the driver took all our luggage out, and then that was it. That was the end. And I was like, what, this is it? And I still had all this like paperwork and other stuff, but I guess they don't need it. So even my PCR certificate that I had gotten in Boston, which was like a whole other story and a whole other drama I'll do another video about, nobody ever collected that. And there was so much, agonizing and angst over this certificate. It's called the MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs COVID certificate that you're supposed to get when you're returning to Japan. So whatever country you're coming from, Japan has its own special COVID certificate that, clinics have to fill out on top of the certificate or the, paperwork they already give you in your home country that you have a negative result. So yeah, after all that drama, nobody ever collected that form. So I was like, oh, great, But anyway, I have it as, I don't know, I might frame it and just put it on my wall. Because it really was very dramatic how I ended up getting that pre-flight PCR test from Boston. And so then, yeah, we got to Narita Airport, dropped off at the bus stop, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what's next? I mean, I knew what was next in terms of my friend, my very nice friend and student, Mr. Hasegawa, was on his way from Saitama driving to pick me up. But we had gotten out of the hotel much earlier than I expected, so he was still like a good hour away. So it was a bit chilly yesterday, so I decided I'm just gonna go inside the terminal building. I wasn't so keen to do that because it looked kind of busy, but I thought, well, rather than sit out here with all my luggage and freeze, I'll try to find like a quiet area in Terminal 2. So that's what happened. And actually, just as I entered the terminal, there's like a little kind of section where you if you need to send off your luggage to your house, like Kuroneko and all those companies. There was like a little area there where there wasn't that many people seated. And then I saw Starbucks. There was a Starbucks right next to the Kuroneko, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't, had a Starbucks since, well, maybe I went to Boston once to Starbucks, so that, and this was my first kind of hour of like freedom of actually walking. I was like walking outside of, my hotel room, and it was like, wow, this is surreal. This is weird. So then I kind of just left my luggage by the Kuroneko, and then I went to Starbucks. It's literally like 5 steps away. So and then I had the usual, which is a chai tea latte, hot, and an American waffle. And I have to say, it was just the best to eat that waffle and to drink that chai tea latte. So so that was so nice, such a nice experience. And then basically I waited for Mr. Hasegawa. I enjoyed listening to my music. And then, yeah, Mr. Hasegawa came, I think within kind of 30 minutes, actually. I didn't wait that long. And then, yeah, he drove me home, which was so nice. All the way home to Saitama City, which is where I am now. So basically, I will be doing home quarantine for a further 4 days. So I finish quarantine officially on the 24th of January. So the quarantine total is 10 days. They reduced it from four. It used to be 14 days, so they reduced it to 10 days now, which is fantastic. So so yeah, that's, you know, that's that. So it's been so nice to be home and just, you know, be able to use a washing machine and open my balcony door and enjoy fresh air. And I also went to the supermarket, actually. Very kind of nip in and nip out kind of situation. But apparently you are allowed to go out very briefly, but you're not supposed to, you know, prolong your visits, or, you know, go over to your friend's house or whatever. So so they do take that into account, because obviously who's gonna buy you food? I mean, unless you have very nice friends who come every other day. But I have to say, yesterday when I got home, my very awesome friend, Taiko, she actually went to the supermarket for me and she bought like some basics, and left the bag at my door. So I already received it when I arrived home. So, like, you know, things like eggs and bread and some vegetables, because I wanted to make a soup. I thought I was going to have power to make a soup yesterday, but I had no energy left whatsoever. I had like a cup noodle and just passed out basically. I was so tired. So I'm going to make that tonight instead. But I needed some other things as well, so that's why I just went briefly to the supermarket. And actually, I also wanted to look for like a little piece of cake at the supermarket, because today's my birthday. Yay! Happy birthday to me. But I'm in quarantine. So yeah, I looked for cakes, but they weren't that, you know, delicious looking. So I thought, well, you know, I'll just wait for 4 more days and I'll go get a proper cake somewhere else. And then I came home, and then with my shopping, and then maybe 20 minutes later, I got a ping pong on my door. My, like, basically, Japanese say ping pong, but basically it means like my doorbell rang. And then it was Miho, which was amazing. So she has just come back from the hospital, and she brought me like a really nice apple cake and pudding. So I just ate that, actually. It looked so good. I was like, wow. So that was very unexpected, nice surprise. Thank you, Miho. That was so nice. 本当に美味しかった。ありがとうございました。So even my friends here, you know, Olaf has reached his final destination at last in Japan, and he's accompanied by his new friend, Curious George. So it's kind of, you know, Curious George is actually from Boston. So the Curious George stories were written in Boston. The authors lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So he's actually a Boston monkey, but I bought him here in Saitama in, I think it was November. I went to this shopping center in Kawagoe, which is a very traditional Japanese city. I mean, it has like kind of a Edo period kind of street and buildings, but then next to the station they have this really modern shopping center, and there was George just looking at me, and I had to like race in and grab him and bring him home. And I was planning to bring him to Boston, but I didn't have any space. So I left him here to guard the house, and which he did with such, you know, valor, that, you know, my house is still standing. So I cannot say thank you to George enough. So it's been good to see him again. Yes. And I did buy some Curious George storybooks in Boston, so I'm gonna read them to my kids, my new kids, whatever job I get next, starting in April. Yeah, so that's kind of my day. Birthday in quarantine in Saitama City. But it's been a good day. I just really, you know, when you just haven't been home for a while and you just enjoy, you know, the really basic things. So like opening my balcony door this morning and like breathing fresh air, because in the hotels we cannot open the window it specifically says do not open the window, and my window actually said this window does not open. So they really don't want you to open those windows. So just fresh air, and seeing my plant again. You know, I have one indoor plant which was looking kind of sorry for itself yesterday, and I thought it had died actually. So I was like, oh my gosh. I gave it some water and I talked to it. And for some reason this morning it had like perked up, like it had literally resurrected. I mean, I'm just amazed, you know, at the vitality of plants. However, my outdoor plant, that's another sad story because it died. It's gone to plant heaven. So that's, yeah, I probably won't see it again. So yeah, so I enjoyed my one plant and fresh air, and I did my laundry, which I always like doing my laundry in the morning and hanging it out. It was a really beautiful day, very sunny, very blue sky. And then also I was chatting to a couple of friends on WhatsApp. One friend is in Bali and the other friend is in New York. And then they were saying, happy birthday, Ember. And I was like, thank you. And then the next thing I know is that they're video calling me from these time zones. So it was really cool. So we said a quick hello because they were actually at work, both of them. I know they had meetings. So that was very nice. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Dita. And then my Bible reading for today was actually Isaiah 46. And it was Isaiah 46 verse 4. And I just thought it was very timely. So it says, Isaiah 46 4, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am he. I am he who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. So I'm sure the gray hairs are coming. I did find some, not recently, but earlier last year, I think when I was just having a really intense time last year, I think I did have some gray hairs. I think that saying is true. When you're stressed and stuff, you get gray hairs. But it was just so timely because it says, I guess when you're stressed, or if it's because of aging naturally, God will sustain you and he'll carry you, because sometimes, when you have your gray hairs, you can't walk, or, because of infirmities or illness. But yeah, God says, I will carry you and I will sustain you. Sustain you is repeated twice. And I will rescue you. So that was my encouragement this morning for my birthday. So before I finish, I thought I'll share with you some dog jokes. So I bought this pack of dog jokes in Barnes & Noble in Boston. It's a really lovely bookstore that I love. There's not too many of them left, but there's one. If you ever go to Boston, it's in the Prudential Center. So I'll read you some dog jokes for any dog lovers out there. We have 2 dogs, so we love dogs. So the first one is, what type of dog loves to take baths? No answer. A shampoodle. There you go. Okay. The second one is, sorry, I have to just blow my nose. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. So the second one is, what is a dog's favorite vegetable? The answer is cauliflower. Cauli. So the next one is, why did the poor dog chase his tail? He was trying to make ends meet. Poor dog. Okay, the last one. Why do they call it a litter of puppies? Because they mess up the whole house. So those are the dog jokes. I was kind of enjoying those earlier. So yeah. So I'm going to have my little It's actually vinegar, pomegranate. I make pomegranate vinegar with sparkling water and a splash of this rosé wine. So my friend Akemi-san, she's a really lovely Japanese lady, and she took me to this winery last year, maybe I think around October, I guess we went. It's called Coco Farm Winery in Tochigi Prefecture, in just north of I guess well, there's Saitama and then Tochigi. So it was a really lovely winery, and so I bought this mini rosé wine, so I still have it. So I just added it to my little drink there, birthday cocktail. so that's it. So cheers from Saitama. So saying goodbye to you, George and Olaf as well. Wish you all the best. Sayonara.